We're ready now. Worked up a sweat. Time to cool off.
Gotta get in that ocean. What are you taking?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa. That's a flag. Going in the water.
So in parts 3 and 4 of our Blazing Sand webisodes, we feature the USS Flagg Aircraft Carrier playset. But I think we finally defied its classification as a playset. GI Joburg's Flagg is finally a vehicle. Not only is it depicted in motion, but also floating unassisted in the Atlantic Ocean. How did we put the most famous action figure playset of all time out to sea? Well, you've come to the right place for the answer. At the outset, I had a few non-negotiables when doing this. It had to be something a layperson with little to no handyman experience could muddle through, and, linked to that, it had to be relatively cheap to execute. If you live in a surf town like I do, you could trouble a surfboard shaper to custom create a fiberglass hull for you. Anything is possible with enough money. But this method relies on polystyrene boards that are readily available at major hardware chains and cheaply. I initially bought 3, but then added a 4th to give the Flagg a little more height. Aircraft carriers tend to stand very high above the waterline, and for good reason. The boards I selected measure 45mm by 600mm by 2500mm, which for those of us using Imperial is 1.7 inches by 2 feet by 8 feet 2 inches. The next part is a bit of a hack. If you've done the skateboard upgrade for your Flagg as GI Joburg has, well then you've got the perfect template for the bottom board. The top board should be the dimensions of the bottom board plus the dimensions of the bow and stern sections extended fore and aft. The middle boards should then be an extrapolation between the bottom and top board in order to create a terraced gradient. Once you've marked them up, then cut them out. Best to elevate the board away from the floor and cut gradually with a fine coping saw blade. Even though it doesn't snow here in Africa, best believe it'll look like you've just had a fresh powder fall, so I advise keeping a vacuum cleaner nearby. Next step, glue. I found this product by GenChem specifically developed to bond polystyrene. You can also use Paytech's No More Nails adhesive. Anything else? I'd ask the store. You didn't come all this way to have your boards getting eaten away by glue. The GenChem product specifies a thin layer to be applied to both surfaces, while the Paytex requires just one application. But both adhesives need to be left alone for about 15 minutes before bonding, so the glue can have a really tacky texture. These kind of instructions are to be found on the packaging, so be sure to read them very, very carefully. When bonding the surfaces, it is advisable to enlist some help. Heck, I'd say it is essential to enlist some help. Contact adhesives are a one-time fit. They bond very quickly and very unforgivably. The wisdom and zen of the older generation is highly recommended. You can now begin scratch building the deck plates on top, arranging them in the best fit, and then marking their location. Once you're happy, you can begin marking the points at which the deck plates are to be secured. I drilled them out, then poured in some No More Nails adhesive before inserting plastic wall plugs. Polystyrene ain't a great surface for screws, but with a little stiff glue in there, it should be secure enough to stop the plates from ripping free too easily. Now the fun really begins. Painting can be a very therapeutic activity. I had this color mixed after having it specifically matched to a piece of plastic from the Flagg at a hardware store, so make sure to inquire about the best paint for the surface. Oil-based paints will harm the boards, and if it's not an outdoor paint, it might not be up to the task of being placed in water. I did 3 coats, leaving 6 hours for the paint to dry in between each coat. Be sure to work in a well-ventilated area. I cut grooves into the side of the board in order to slot in the tower, which it does, very snugly, but you may want to put in the Y-pins just to be extra secure. And failing the actual Flagg Y-pins, which are very rare and very fragile, a pair of toothpicks will do the trick. You can even paint them grey if you like. Now this was the first watered test. I attached enough components to get an idea of what a bit of weight would do. As it turns out, it doesn't do much at all. This thing is super buoyant and very, very light.
Superman! Super Joe!
But when I put the complete tower into the hull between the takes, I noticed that it lists about a degree to starboard, so I opted to sink 2 counterweights of 2.5 kilograms, that's 5.5 pounds each, into the port side, and I carved a hole using a soldering iron. It's a very satisfying cutting tool, but once again, make sure you work in a well-ventilated area. The fumes are pretty toxic. The final touch, and purely aesthetic, I painted the heads of the screws the same grey as the deck plates. Another aesthetic touch that I toyed with is cutting a slope into the prow instead of this rather terraced look. I may still do so, but for the purpose of getting this bad boy out to sea, it's unnecessary. And then one sunny Thursday evening in Cape Town, Rob and I pushed the Flagg out to sea for its maiden voyage. Totally worth it.
Yeah, bro, you want to try?
Action Lady J. He moves in. She goes to follow him.
That's how you beat your flag.
Nice. Nice, Tiger, nice.
Hey, all the mast equipment is still there.
Wow.
Army matey. Arduous, Rob.
That was something, my friend, that was something.
Oh god, we got it. We got it.
That is something.
Well done, Flagg, you're a beautiful thing.
You survived.
Flagg. I wish I could take wing and fly like a sky striker into the sky so I can strike ya. I'm not a rapper.
Yeah, you're good enough.
Oh, now a beer.
If you'd like to check out the Flagg in action, be sure to click the links on the screen to our Blazing Sand webisode series. If you'd like to support the channel and get some cool GI Joburg merch, check out our Teespring account. Link in the description below. And as always, Yo Joe Berg.